everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Tina Moran at Flourish Ventures, and we are a global fintech VC with purpose. We invest in entrepreneurs that are seeking to create a fairer financial system. While our focus as a venture fund lies in supporting fintech innovators, we are also thrilled to champion creatives who are mission-driven and who are reshaping conversations around money and shifting financial narratives. Talking about money matters. But how do you get people to engage with such a heavy topic that's so anxiety-ridden, like their finances, when they're looking for downtime scrolling their social media feeds? They want to be entertained. Enter Haley Sachs, aka Mrs. Dow Jones, aka the reason that my social media feeds, along with the feeds of 1.4 million other followers, are now jam-packed full of Rihanna memes that are telling you how to diversify your investments, or Kardashian TikToks that show the Kardashian sisters explaining the different investment accounts. She's one of the original finance influencers that is empowering the next generation to engage with their finances by actually making it fun and shifting our attitudes around money. Haley, welcome to Flourish Focus.
So excited to be here. Thanks, Tina.
I am so excited to have you here. I want to kick things off by just getting into your background a little bit. You're one of the original financial influencers, as I said. So can you talk a little bit about how you thought of Mrs. Dow Jones, your background, and how you got started?
Absolutely. So my background is actually in comedy and entertainment and digital social content. So I worked for David Letterman, and then I worked for Lorne Michaels, who that was like my first real full-time job. And up until that point, because I'd been like a 1099 employee, and up until that point, I had successfully ignored my finances, as many people, so a lot, mostly women, do. And I remember my first day on that job, they asked me about healthcare and 401ks and all of these complicated adulting questions that I had no idea the answers to. And so, I sort of nodded and pretended like I understood what they were saying. And then that night went online to my best friend, the internet, and tried to learn about these things so that I didn't look like an idiot the next day, despite, I'd never been taught any of them. And I was sort of taken aback by what was available to learn. It was just like such dry, male-oriented information that really didn't inspire me at all to want to take control or to dig into this topic that's so important. Like, I really believe financial wellness is on the same level as physical wellness or emotional wellness, but like, we all have therapists and we all have trainers, but no one ever teaches us about money. So it sort of started from there. And then I started to make content to teach myself, and it really just took off.
Haley, what you said is so relatable, because I remember having my first job, which was actually in finance. So I felt even stupider when I could not figure out, how do I invest in my 401k? What are the different types of investment accounts, and what are the differences? And I remember just going to the first person that told me something that sounded right. I just went with that advice. And so it's so relatable of everybody having this experience. And I also think that's why so many people, and especially women, have now flocked to your channels to get that advice from somebody that's trusted, but also personalizes it to them. I want to pick up on one thing you talked about too, which is, I think, just really the secret sauce and why your channel is so fun for everybody, which is your background being in comedy. So really the signature flair of Mrs. Dow Jones content is this mix of comedy and humor mixed with pop culture and celebrities. So can you talk a little bit about why that is your approach and why you feel it's so effective?
Yes, I remember when I first started thinking, everyone loves memes, everyone loves celebrity gossip, but no one likes finance. So maybe if I put it in with those, then I could get people to listen. And it totally worked, because it's sort of like giving someone a brownie with spinach in it. it feels like a treat, but it's actually really healthy. And so the same can be said for teaching people. It's all about, right, meeting people where they're at. Like if you're on your social media feed and you're looking to get information, you want to come at people in the same way that they have been being spoken to previously, like on their feed and in their scroll. So I think it was also about assimilating within the social media landscape and speaking to people in that same tone and about the things that they were already interested in, but then giving them a different perspective that was going to help them improve their lives.
It's such a great approach because talking about the social media landscape, there's so much content on it that revolves around people's finances that's looking to engage people. But a lot of it, whereas yours is the brownie with the spinach in it, like I would call it like the brownie that's like packed full of like toxic plastic or something where it looks
Those
like and you're
microplastics.
so excited, but it's actually somebody that's selling you a get rich quick scheme or telling you to buy GameStop or invest in crypto, where what's behind it is not somebody that's trying to really bring people along in a way that improves their financial health, but they're actually just using it to attract views as a means of making money themselves or whatever their ulterior motive is. So how do you on your platform balance engaging people with actually bringing them good financial information? And how do people navigate that landscape and knowing which is which?
Oh my gosh. Yes, there's such bad advice out there. I think we actually worked on a piece of content together where it was like this guy who wanted everyone to cash out their 401ks to invest with him. And he was promising like 40% returns the next day, just obviously completely misguided. But, here's the thing about money. I always say, like, you want your life to be exciting. You don't want your life to be average. You don't want like your outfit to be average or whatever your poison is, your meals, your travel, whatever the things are that you love to do. You don't want those to be average. You want them to be extraordinary. But when it comes to investing and your wealth journey, that you want average. You want it to be boring. You want it to actually feel almost too simple. And if anyone is telling you otherwise and offering you a different experience that maybe feels too easy, then it's probably something that you shouldn't be doing.
It's such a great point. If it feels too good to be true, it probably is.
Yes. Yes.
So let's talk about your core audience that you're reaching. I love how you describe yourself as the millennial finance expert. You're really targeting, women of all ages, but I think who really flocks to your channel is millennial and Gen Z women. So can you talk a little bit about why it's so important to target this generation and also women in general? Because I think for such a long time, women were, given narratives that finance is not for you. You're not good at finance. So why is it so important to reach women in this way?
Well, I'll start with the millennial and Gen Z part of the question, just because I feel like it's important to note that we are growing up in a completely different economy and world than our parents did. And so, our money stories are ingrained by age 7. And those stories are passed down by whoever's raising us, but they did not grow up with the same student loan burdens, the same levels of inflation, the same amount of layoffs. They were buying, they weren't renting. Like we're in a completely different world. And so you need a modern financial expert to meet you there. The old financial advice that maybe worked for our parents doesn't work for us anymore. And then for women specifically, for us, we are not taught that we are good with money, that we are good at math. We're taught to save. We're not taught to invest. We're taught that like if we negotiate or we like go for what we want, that we're difficult or we're too much. So there's all of these burdens that are put on women that deter us from taking control of our money. But actually, when you look at the studies, women, when they do invest, are much better investors than men. And when they do manage their finances, they're much better at managing it than men are. And women are CEOs of most households. So they're doing all of the finances. So we're much more capable than we give ourselves credit for. And I think that Mrs. Dow Jones is about empowering that and also saying, this is not that hard. They have been like completely duping us this whole time and sort of doing some PR for wealth building in general and telling everyone, hey, you can do this. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science. It's actually easy and boring. And the hardest part about it is just being consistent.
I completely agree. And like at the root of a lot of the content that you put out, it's the same financial advice. It's not rocket science. It really is
No,
the
100%.
do this simple, boring thing, but it's
Yeah,
really the most important part is engage with your finances and take the anxiety out of it and have the conversations with your friends and make sure everybody is doing these simple but critically important things to help you get ahead.
totally. Yeah, you said something so correct, which is like they are all sort of the same lessons. Like we have maybe like 12 things that we cover, like Roth IRAs, backdoor Roths, emergency funds, paying off debt, like, negotiating, because obviously you have to make sure that you're earning enough. Like there's, we do a lot about generational wealth. So 529 plans, renting versus buying. Like there's certain topics that are so important, but you just package them differently every time that you make content about them. But it's so true that it's not like there's so many different things to say and it's not that complicated. It's just being told it consistently that makes it sink in. I think that someone said once, there's like a study that you have to hear something 7 times to like actually get it.
It's what I love about your approach being on social media. It's the repetition. And I feel
Yeah.
like myself when I'm on social media and things are popping up. There are moments when I'm in the mood to engage with my finances and I'm ready to set things up and do it the right way. But a lot of the time I'll be on social media and it feels too much. And if somebody's telling me this is how you roll your IRA into a backdoor IRA, and it gives me anxiety, I just don't want to engage with it at all. But it's what I love about your approach because it's a mixture. It's a mixture of here's a drip and a steady drumbeat on these financial topics. So you know exactly what to do when you're ready to do it. But also, here's a way to shift your attitude around money. Like I'm also going to give you Rihanna memes and Kardashian love life updates that connect to the financial system in a way
Mhm.
that sometimes you just want to laugh and sometimes you want to take the anxiety out of engaging with money and make it feel fun. And that's what's unique about your feed because it's not just telling people what to do, but it's really shifting their attitudes around how they engage with money.
I mean, I appreciate that so much. That has been my goal the whole time, has been to like rebrand finance and make it cool and fun, to make it aspirational, to grow wealth and to save and to get out of debt, and to face your finances. Because I felt certainly the same way that you were mentioning how you felt, where, it gave you fear or anxiety, or it felt like too much for that moment. And I really feel like it is just a mindset shift where if we can make it feel more lighthearted and easy and empower people to feel capable, then they're going to do it more often.
Exactly. Because there's a really like fun, exciting side to engaging with your finances, and especially for women, which is when you have your finances in order, when you feel like you're in control, it gives you power in situations. It gives you optionality. It gives you a choice to do I want to stay in this job? Do I want to stay in this relationship? And
Mhm.
that's freedom in a way that's very exciting. And it's as you walk through on your platforms, it's very simple steps to feel like you're in control. And it's not just a dollar amount that you're trying to aspire to, it's really feeling in control of your finances.
Yeah, the ROI is so humongous. And I think that people will be shocked by how low of a lift it takes to see a result. Like something as small as like automating an $100 deposit every month into your Roth IRA, or, taking the time to review your credit card statement and like cancel that subscription. Like these little micro actions have such a big payoff.
Exactly. It really is the basics, as we keep saying, but it's how can we package the basics into the brownie to get people to engage with it.
We love brownies.
Okay, now we have to talk about girl math.
List of things that I firmly believe because of girl math. Anything under $5 is free. Anything I buy with a gift card is free. If I buy something but then I return it, I've made money. Going to an event or a concert is free because I purchased the tickets so long ago, it doesn't even count. I load my Starbucks app in advance, so Starbucks is free. Anything discounted more than 50% is free, and I am losing money by not getting it. If I'm paying someone back for dinner and I have money in Venmo, that dinner is free. If I don't buy something, if I don't buy a pair of shorts for $50, I've made $50 and I can then go spend $50 on something else. Okay, this one's a little bit weird, but my husband and I share credit cards and a bank account, but somehow every time that he puts down his card with his name on it, that's free and he paid.
Our least favorite, but also most favorite subject.
Exactly. Well, our least favorite that really turned into something that I think was so great because of you. So I'm going to preface this a little bit. At Flourish, we think about impact, not just in the number of followers that you reach on your platform, Haley, which is millions of people based on your exact followers and where it goes from there. But we also look at how are the perspectives that you're seeding on social media getting picked up in the broader media spheres? How is it going out and how is it really shifting these broader narratives around how we talk about money and especially how we talk about women in money? So a little bit of background on girl math. This is a trend that went viral last summer. And it really shows the compounding power of social media and especially an influencer like Haley and how their voice can really blow up and go viral. So within, I think, 2 weeks of the girl math trend going out, Haley had a reaction video to it showing her perspective on girl math that was then picked up by a number of other financial influencers, which then led it to go viral across traditional media outlets, including it was Forbes, it was Essence, it was Fortune, CBS, and there was even news outlets in India that was covering it. So Haley, can you share a little bit about what exactly is girl math and how does that have a real tangible impact on financial health for women, negative stereotypes like that?
So girl math is basically showing how women trick themselves into financial decisions. It's a way of duping yourself into doing things or not doing things. So a common example of one is girl math. I just returned all of these purchases. So now I made $400. And it's no, you didn't make $400. You spent $400 and then you returned it and you probably actually paid shipping fees sending it back. So you're coming out not even, you're coming out under, but then there's this idea that, oh, no, I actually have $400 more and I can go spend it or, do whatever I want with it. And it goes to this deeper issue of how women think about money, which is I'm not smart enough or capable enough to do this. And I sort of do need to trick myself into getting by or making decisions because I'm not capable. I'm not sophisticated enough. And it was really disheartening to see how viral it went on social media and how it became so part of the zeitgeist because it showed how pernicious these narratives really are, that so many women were buying into the girl math and applying it to their own lives and relating to it. And so it was important to speak up against it and say, hey, this is actually not something to be proud of. This is something to avoid and to be aware of if you're doing. And also, why are we celebrating this duping ourselves financially? Whereas, I would rather make a purchase where I know that I saved up for it in advance and, put money in my high yield savings account every month for this thing that I really want and then bought it and could own that purchase and buy it with clear eyes versus this whole idea of sort of going through life with a gauze over your eyes where financially, you're sort of just making decisions, not really knowing what's happening, just off of your gut without really information or education. And so, yeah, it was definitely, I mean, I still see it online all the time, but now hopefully there's a bit more of a other voice that comes in too, that says like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing this.
I see it online still.
No, right. Me too. All the time.
Exactly, which is so concerning. But the great thing is I see your counter narrative just as much as I see the other side of
Oh,
it.
good.
And I think what was so interesting about girl math going viral, the original girl math that said, haha, women don't know how to manage their money, and this is how we justify our spending. Because of that, so many people were pushing back when you seeded that counter narrative saying, this is just light, this is just funny, we're having fun, it's not that serious. And I think
they were like mad at me for coming for that girl. And I was like, this is not an attack against her.
exactly.
And
But
if she didn't want someone to react to it, she shouldn't have posted it.
I think what was so important about what you did was you explained, this seems light and this seems surface level. And I know this seems like it wouldn't have a tangible impact on your actual finances, but it does. Because if you view yourself as somebody who doesn't understand money and give yourself an excuse to justify away purchases, that really is a self-fulfilling prophecy where that's how you will then move through life when you're engaging with your finances. And I think it's not just on the individual either. I saw so many companies seizing on this
I
opportunity.
know. No, we got brand deals come through that were like, do this we love the girl math trend. Can you use that? And it's like, huh? And also calling
Exactly.
it girl math, like it's just this whole idea. It goes back to like, you know, women, we're told that it's frivolous that we like buy lattes or buy clothes, and men are allowed to bet and gamble and go to sports games or whatever. And no one ever says anything. Like it just, yeah, it furthered those gender stereotypes. And it was so horrible to see women jumping on the trend, because I was like, you're part of the problem. Like we need to actually not push this narrative. We need to push the opposite.
I mean, it opened up a really great conversation where the articles that cited you and the side and the perspective of girl math that you brought to the table really nailed in these articles how women show up much better at managing their money, how when they investments, as you said, women are much better investors, and that actually women are incredibly savvy when it comes to managing their finances, which I actually think pushed forward the narrative and the attitude that you express on your platforms in a much more public way. So while girl math was a really concerning trend, I also think it gave some tailwinds to some really important topics around women that you were able to highlight.
Well, I appreciate that. And I think it's important that we maintain that it's aspirational to be good with money and not aspirational to spend so frivolously. And I even see this like when you're on like Net-a-Porter or something, and there are like 6 investment pieces that everyone needs to have. Like these places love to say investment pieces, or they make it seem like, oh, like this, we're helping you with your finances actually by you buying this. Like we're on your side. We're actually, by you spending money and giving us revenue, we're actually like having your back financially. And it's like, no, that's not, don't trust that.
Yes, and don't market in that way.
Yeah.
But also, it reminded me of something that I also love about your approach. You don't tell women, don't buy the latte. Don't buy, the articles of clothing that are so important to you. It's more about be very thoughtful in the ways that you spend your money in the ways that you want to, and just be aware, be in control, and be making these choices. Don't, hide from your credit card statements after you make purchases. And I think that's a great way to be, because I don't think we should, this headlines around millennials, don't buy avocado toast and you'll buy a house. I think you approach finance in a really real way that people can connect with and relate to in their everyday lives.
Well, what's funny about that is, well, there's 2 things. First of all, is like, I'm obsessed with helping people budget for non-monthly expenses, which are like those things that come up that you don't ever really plan for, but do really hurt your bottom line. Like, and that can be fun. Like, oh, getting highlights, or getting like a pedicure, or going away with your friends on a trip, or like lifestyle things that add so much value to like your memories at the end of the day and to your lifestyle, but maybe you feel like other financial experts have told you that it's either all or nothing. And that's really important that we don't do that, that we're sort of in the middle. But I get shamed online a lot too when I show purchases that people deem frivolous, and they question my authority if I show that I like got a gel manicure or something. They're like, that's not responsible for you to be showing that. But it actually is, because I'm using my money to improve my life. No one knows my financial situation, but of course, like, everything is accounted for. I've planned for this purchase. It's something that is valuable to me. And that's the whole thing. It's like money is power and freedom. There's no right way to spend it. But as long as you're hitting those ratios, which I always talk about, which is like 50% of your income on needs, 30% on wants, which could be travel, could be sushi, could be gel manicures, could be skydiving. I know, Tina, you love like a good hobby. And then we're putting 20% towards future use. So you're maxing out your retirement accounts, you're putting money in your brokerages. Then you're good. Enjoy that 30%. And so, but people shame themselves so much that, and they grew up in places, in households where they were shamed, that now like they're bringing that energy online too. It's very
Exactly.
interesting.
I think taking the shame out of it is one of the most important things that you can do.
Yeah. But it's
How-
crazy to like feel it from people, because you're like, oh, if you're doing it to me, then you must be doing it so much to yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. It's why it's so important that we have so many people following you on your platform.
Well, I got the best support from Flourish. So it's a group effort.
Amazing. Let's talk, bringing it back to Flourish. As you know, I mean, we're a venture fund and we back entrepreneurs. I want to talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey with Mrs. Dow Jones, because building a brand like this is a lot of hard work. Can you just highlight a few of what were the challenges that you faced over the years that maybe were unexpected as you set out to build this platform, but also what were some of the like really memorable highlights and the milestones that you hit that made you feel so proud of what you built?
Well, I mean, I think like even this conversation is really exciting because you've been such an amazing partner to me. And anytime you hear someone explain your work like through their eyes, it's really like puts things in perspective. So even moments like this make me sort of pinch myself and are exciting. But I will say, like, I think that there's something very different about being a creative and a creator versus being like a boss and a leader. And so oscillating between those two has certainly been its own journey, and something that I like consistently invest in and try to be like mindful about. But I would say, yeah, there's very different. Like making the content and connecting to the audience, I feel like is very easy for me. But then the part of it that's harder is, making sure that like your team is happy and all your emails are done at the end of the day and every contract is signed and, the Google Doc is shared and everyone has edit access. And why do they even make that a function that you like, this person has edit access and this person's view only, like those little things that are just sort of annoying in the world of business, but that are part of life, can drag you down a little. But I think remembering your overall mission is what really keeps me going, like getting up and being able to say, hey, I can connect with people today and help them and add value to their lives. And maybe they can also connect with each other about this is thrilling and is what I've always wanted.
I love that. And I have the absolute same feeling being in a moment like this with you, where we're really talking about this work, looking back on everything that you've done and that we've done, and just thinking about why it's so important and why it's so impactful and how it really impacts your followers in such an important way. I also want to ask you, what is next for Mrs. Dow Jones on your journey? What are you excited about achieving in the years to come with your platform?
Well, I think we're hopefully going to launch this new series together this year, which I'm really excited about, which will have me sitting down with like powerful, successful women and getting the tea from them about their personal finances, because I see like all these great business women on social media, and they have their Birkins and they have their like lives together. And I want to know like really what's going on under the hood. So I'm hoping that we can build that out, and I'm really excited about that. And then I'm working on my book, which is also really exciting, and I think will take up a lot of time this year. And then, yeah, just being consistent on social, finding new stories and ways into the conversation. And that's the goal, right? Is just staying consistent, building new entities, but always maintaining the core values of the brand and creating long-term partnerships with great people like everyone at Flourish so that we can continue to exist and, help people.
Perfect. I've always loved your approach because it is equally thoughtful and strategic, but also fun and exciting. And so we are so excited to continue to be on this journey with you and Mrs. Dow Jones. Haley, thank you so much for having this conversation with us today. It was so much fun. I love any time that we have a conversation about these topics. Before I let you go, where can everybody find you so that they can continue reading up on what's going on with you and Mrs. Dow Jones on your platforms?
The best place to find me is definitely on social media at Mrs. Dow Jones. Mrs. like I'm married to the Dow, MRS. But you can also go to financescool.com and sign up for my newsletter. It's twice a week. It's really fabulous. And it will just give you even more insights into what's happening, give you lots of financial tips. And you'll also hear about my best and worst purchases of the week, because no shame in the game, but you got to keep yourself honest.
You have to keep yourself honest. I love your newsletter. Everybody find Haley and follow her. Haley, thank you so much again for today.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. For questions regarding today's discussion, Flourish Ventures, or any of our portfolio companies, you can email us at events@flourishventures.com. I look forward to seeing everybody next time.